Welcome to the Navigating Hollywood podcast. My name is Alan Wolf, and I'm a filmmaker, author, and game creator. Navigating Hollywood encourages and equips entertainment professionals to live relationally and spiritually holistic lives. If you work in entertainment, be sure to visit navigatinghollywood.org to discover the complimentary courses and see how you can get involved. Today, we'll be talking with the lead actors from our new movie, The Sound of Violet, that I wrote, directed, and produced. Say hello to Cason Thomas, who plays Sean, Cora Cleary, who plays Violet, Jan Darcy, who plays Ruth, and Michael E. Bell, who plays Anton. Welcome, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you.
Now, for those watching, to give you a little history of The Sound of Violet, I first got the idea when I was returning from a trip overseas. I'd been talking with a friend about the challenges of dating in Los Angeles when I was single. And I love the idea of having a main character who goes to church regularly, connecting with a woman who's being prostituted. I thought that would set up a lot of drama and some humor. In my first drafts of the script, the way I created Violet's character was very close to how you see women portrayed in Hollywood movies as the empowered prostitute. But then as I did more research and I talked to organizations that fight trafficking, I discovered the reality of women who are caught up in prostitution, and then that dramatically changed the way that I wrote the character Violet. When I was creating Sean's character, I hired a consultant whose husband is autistic. I talked with neurodiverse people and just did a lot of research to make sure that character was authentic. I never saw Sean's character as representative of everyone who's autistic, but really just tried to create someone who has unique qualities that work well for our story. Now, for our actors, I'm just curious, how did you each research and build up the characters that you portrayed?
I started, of course, by diving into your script, Alan. Obviously, you had already done a lot of research, and I think that as an actor, the greatest way to start building a character is to listen to what the writer is giving you. So, of course, that was where I started. And then after that, I began similarly diving into literature. But what I found when reading and talking to neurodiverse people is that the way autism manifests in behavior is so individual and different for everyone. And I had the great fortune of having someone who is autistic on set named Tom. After the first reading, he actually came up to me and talked to me and expressed how grateful he was that a story was being made with a character like Sean and how he related to him. And he offered himself right then and there as a subject matter and someone who I could study and base the character off of. And so I spent the rest of our rehearsal and also while filming just observing Tom and really diving into him as a human being. And a lot of the characteristics and behavior that I observed there showed up in Sean in the film, especially in the eye movement and body posture and sort of the cadence of his speech. So that was a huge, huge help for me.
That's great. Yeah, Tom had a very central role in our film. He was actually in charge of all the data that we recorded. It's called DIT. I cannot remember what DIT stands for. It's something like digital intermediary something or other. But he was in charge of all the footage, and he had such a central part in our film. So we're super thankful for Tom. And what about you, Cora? What research went into you creating the role of Violet?
Yeah, same with Cason. The script first, just there were so many gold nuggets. And then as much as I wanted to watch Pretty Woman, I actually watched some documentaries on Netflix instead. And it was super expansive watching those documentaries. And then I just adopted some of the mannerisms. And so as Violet, I took her to the grocery store and just some public places to see what it feels like to interact with people in public. And then I just journal as Violet while I was creating her.
Did you dress up as Violet to go to these different locations?
My Cora clothes, my jeans.
Okay. So you took on her physical characteristics and went to these different locations. How interesting.
There was this moment where someone like cut me in line. I remember this. Someone cut me in line at the grocery store and I let it happen as Violet. And I was like, as Cora, that would not have flown.
How would you say you physically manifested the character differently than who you are as Cora?
Like my shoulders, I remember just like my body, it's like, you know, closed off more. And also like wearing heels, that does inform, like that's like your base framework. So that does inform like how you carry the rest of your body. I just remember Violet, I had lots of back pain and just like pain in my body, like my torso.
Because of the way that you held her?
Right.
Wow. And did your impression of people who are caught in prostitution change throughout the making of the film as well?
Absolutely. As I was learning more about like what it's like to be sex trafficked in the documentaries and just like becoming Violet, I just see how relatable the story is, and my heart hurt more and more. I think about the innocence and just how young these people are. And, you know, at the time I'm like older than a lot of these children being trafficked. Gosh, carrying the weight of that story on my shoulders, you know, I really wanted to do an accurate job during the movie. That was just very important to me.
Yeah. Mike, you originally auditioned for Jake, and then you did such a great job on that, but still, I remember thinking, oh, this could be a possible Anton. Then you left the room and came back as Anton. Were you able to prepare before that audition, or were you reading that?
No, I sat in the hallway for like 2 minutes.
Oh my God.
Read the Anton stuff and said, okay, let's go.
That's amazing. That is so amazing. Because you know what's funny is that the Jake part is almost like the flip side of Anton, you know, except in a more, in a different, more kind of socially acceptable way. But the way that he looks at women, I think his line is like, how's the meat? So he has a similar kind of degrading point of view, the way that he looks at women as Anton, but they're just, so it's interesting that you auditioned for that role first and then Anton. That's great.
I was that slimy, Alan, like you said.
That's right.
No, that's Anton.
You know, I thought it was pretty slimy for Jake, but nope, looks like there's even more slime there coming out.
Literally filming this, after each day, I would have to go home and decompress and just be like, okay, life is actually good. There are rainbows. People do love each other. People care. Like even on set, as we're doing scenes, in between each take, I would go to Cora like, are you good? Is everything okay? Right? Remember that? I'll say, okay. Like, no, I'm screaming because it's part of the thing. I'm like, okay, cool. I had to like make sure constantly that I felt dirty, but I had to portray this. I had to make it seem like I'm that freaking person.
Oh, yeah.
And it scared me every time you said action.
Wow.
It was rough. Like every day I had to decompress. After set, yeah, it was weird.
That's amazing. And how did you research and connect to that character? Just knowing how different that character is from you, how did you connect into that?
Honestly, I watched a lot of old school blaxploitation movies. And actually, one film I did watch was it was with Morgan Freeman, one of his first ones. It's him and Christopher Reeve. And Morgan Freeman plays the pimp in it. He's a lot more aggressive than I was, and the language was just a lot more out there. But his body language and the way he moved was subtle. It was the words that were more aggressive. But I just concentrated on his body language, like the way he would do certain things and grab him and grab her. That was my research right there. And I kept bringing that to set. Was more or less me talking to Cora on the side and saying, hey, listen, how are we going to do this? I want to be real. I want to look real, but I do not want to harm you in any way.
When I first met you, you had your shades on the whole time, and I didn't even think twice about it, and we're talking and everything. We did the reading, and then the first time we're filming, Alan calls action, we're doing our scene, it's like, whoa, I am so intimidated by you, like, what's going on? And I realized it was the first time I had seen your eyes. You took off your shades.
In my personal world, I'm shaded up and just, because the eyes are the window to the soul, and I just kind of try to keep myself to myself. But once I became Anton, it was like I wanted you to see the intention behind here. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I would have them off and just try to like make my eyes a little more bugged out than usual and stare intently. That was part of the character there.
It's interesting. I tried to set up Douglas's character as almost like a counterbalance to the character of Anton, where you see one character who exploits, is obviously Anton's character, but exploits, hurts, harms, and then you see another character who serves and loves and cares for others. And Jan, what about you? What went into you researching your character?
Over the years, I've put together, it's like 4 pages of character analysis. And I sit down and answer all of these questions. What is their goal? What's preventing them from getting to their goal? All the things about Ruth. I don't think you knew, I know you didn't know when I auditioned that I also had a son with disabilities. And so I was very familiar with that and really trying to do everything I could so that he didn't get hurt. Because people are very uncomfortable if a person has a disability. I saw him in situations where people took advantage of him. I mean, I actually, young man tried to be slowly nice to him and stole his credit card and, used it because he couldn't see. And so there were things like that. So I was very, very conscious of that.
Now, for Cason and Cora, amazingly, this is your first feature film. How did it feel the first time that you walked on set knowing that you both were the leads in a feature film?
Just surreal. Everything about it, dream come true. It was so wild. But also so cool, like, obviously, we're such a small part of this big motion picture. It was like, this is amazing, but also like, come on, get over yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a wonderful experience, to have a dream come true and to be doing it with a group of people who were also skilled and wonderful to be around. I mean, I instantly became such good friends with Cora and with Jan, and Mike cracked me up every single day. And it was just wonderful to be on set with everyone. And I was super nervous. I felt fear in a good way. Like there was something in my belly that was so excited and so nervous, and it was great to experience. I feel like I've been chasing that feeling ever since,
Well, I remember you both did such a great job performing in your roles to the point where there was a certain day, I don't know if you remember this, where I came up to you and I said, listen, we have nothing for the gag reel. Like, you're just not messing up. And what were some challenging moments for you as we were filming the movie?
One of the things that was a surprising challenge for me was how long shoot days are. I'd been in theater for a long time, and I'd done several short films and films in college, and the amount of focus that it takes to really stay in that and keep a creative spirit for that long day was a little challenging for me initially. It was a shock a little bit. And then there were all these, external forces too that were not working against us, but providing us with special little challenges. Like there were the fires that were happening in I guess Oregon and California, and the smoke was billowing through Seattle, and we were trying to shoot this movie and make a motion picture while also dealing with the side effects of being in smoke. So that was really interesting as well.
I don't know if any of us recall the pirate ship, but we were filming in Gasworks Park, and we were filming there all day. And as we were getting set up for another shot, this huge pirate ship starts coming across the water, and there were women who were almost like sexy pirates. I think they were supposed to be like just performing different acrobatic kind of things on the nets of the ship. And I was like, what is this? And I remember just having a director meltdown moment internally where I just thought, if I have to throw a Molotov cocktail at this ship, like I was like, whatever I have to do to get this ship out of here, because it was the only time that we could film these scenes on this particular day. And thankfully they eventually did agree to leave, but it was very scary. We had some scary moments when we thought that pirate ship was going to stay, and I didn't know what we were going to do. Another moment, of course, was when we were filming at one of the restaurants in the movie, and there was a miscommunication, and one of the owners of the restaurant did not tell the other owner of the restaurant that we were going to be filming there, and they were looking through their security camera at home and suddenly seeing all these people milling around the restaurant, in the kitchen. So then she came to the restaurant and was like, get out of my restaurant. What is happening? But then fortunately we were able to talk to her. She understood finally what we're doing. And now her restaurant looks amazing in the movie. So hopefully as you'll see the movie, they're like, I want to go to Carmine's restaurant and have a meal. I'm curious what it was like for each of you when you saw the movie for the first time.
I had this great nervousness before I watched it, and also while I was watching it. And part of that has to do with the fact that it's a dream come true. I've always wanted to be in movies, and there I am on the screen. Boom. And I was flooded with memories from the shoot. I was flooded with such great memories of meeting Cora and Jan and Mike and Kaylin and all the actors, and being on set, and the funny things that would happen, like the pirate ship. And I was also filled with inspiration, Alan, because I know that you've had such a heavy hand in this as a writer, director, and producer. What a combo of things to do. And you brought this image in your head to life and made it into a real story for people to experience. And as a writer myself, I was just very moved that you were able to bring that into fruition, and with so many important messages, not just one, but several important messages.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that.
Well, I was watching it with you, Alan, and so I was like very aware, like I know out of the corner of his eye, he's looking to see what my reactions are. And I was like, at first, maybe I'll just be stoic, but I could not help it. I was like, just like a kid at Disneyland. I know my jaw was dropped. I know my eyes were huge. Just taking it all in. And yeah, so many good memories came back because just everyone on set, the whole team was just so wonderful to work with. So yeah, I just felt like so much gratitude that, this dream is here, like lived a dream. And the fact that this movie is so meaningful, you just feel that while watching it, and it lingers on for like a whole week afterwards. That was a cool experience. I mean, also for us, Cason, it was like the first time seeing us in a movie. It's so cool.
The music, I thought, was so helpful to the emotions. I mean, it was, how can it be unobtrusive, but so perfect? But I just really am in awe of you, Alan, of keeping at this and getting it to this point with the pandemic. I mean, just of people that, had ideas and visions of movies, and they just had to put them aside, and you just kept going. I mean, and I just really, am impressed with that you've put it all together. And when I saw it, I said, when it finished, he did it. So that was my that was my reaction. No, really, because you could have given up so many times in the middle of that, and you didn't. So I was really pleased.
Thanks.
I think it's going to make a big impact.
I agree with that.
What are your hopes for the audience after they see the movie?
That they talk about it.
I hope that they keep the visual, because it's so powerful having that image in your head, and like being able to see the characters we created, seeing how we humanize them and being able to, take that with them in their lives.
Yeah, another thing that I would talk about is that you didn't know this, Alan, nor did the casting directors when I was auditioning either, but I'm actually the son of a victim of sex trafficking. And in diving into this script, I wanted to be very, mindful of that and careful of that. And what I didn't anticipate is how much empathy that the film would create in me for my own mother, and just for the struggles that she went through. And so I was, while doing this film, experiencing this inner battle of, okay, now I'm telling a story with something that I really believe in, which is that people in these situations deserve sympathy and empathy. And so now I have to incorporate that into my real life.
Yeah, I remember when you shared that as part of your past, it was really incredible to hear that. And for those who don't know, I mean, you, because of that experience, you were you considered an orphan at some point of your life? Like, what can you just take us through what that experience was like for you?
I'm from the state of Texas, and I'm not sure how it works in every state, but there's a system called Child Protective Services, and my mom was, just having a really rough time in life and being a mother, and I was taken away by Child Protective Services for different reasons 3 times, and on the 3rd time, custody is revoked for the parents, and my father wasn't really a part of my life at that time at all. And when that happens, you become a ward of the state. So you're not an orphan because my parents are still alive, but I became a ward of the state and then entered into the foster care system technically, and bounced around a lot. And I was eventually taken in by my aunt, and then continued to bounce around until I got to college, really. And then I'd say not until I got to college did my life really start to settle, which is interesting. And my life sort of normalized. And a lot of people, I think in my experience, when they enter into college, it's this sort of shock factor of, oh, I have all this work and I have all this responsibility and I need to do my own laundry and things like that. And I had these great scholarships because I had done well on tests. And so for me, after I graduated high school and stepped into college, it was this great calm that settled over my life. Still lots of work, but so that was an interesting juxtaposition between myself and others and my peers. But yeah, ward of the state would be the appropriate term.
I see. Okay. And at what point in your life did you realize that your mom was a victim of sex trafficking?
When I was 9 years old. I didn't know this at the time, but I have a really intense memory of meeting the pimp. He drove up in like this Escalade, and my mom, she sort of used me to pander to people, and she brought me out to meet him. And later that year, I guess, was the final strike when I was taken away by CPS the 3rd time. And the police came, and I had been staying with a neighbor for a couple of days, and they asked me all these questions, and I was very honest with them. And I can't remember who exactly told me, if it was a police officer or the neighbor or maybe my aunt or another family member, that my mom had been arrested for for prostitution. And I didn't really know what that meant as a 9-year-old, but that was the first spark and the first impetus of like, oh, this is what is going on.
Wow. And then to come and to do this film and to use some of it, but some of it keep, in its little corner, that must have been really, really difficult for you.
Yeah.
Cason, are you in touch with your mom today?
No, we still are not in touch.
Okay. Yeah. Are you in touch with your dad?
Nope.
Okay.
The only member of my family that I really keep in contact with is my aunt and her children, my cousins. She sort of had a similarly difficult life as my parents, but was luckily able, for whatever reason, to break the cycle. And she has a wonderful life now that's flourishing, and she's a very responsible woman. And she's actually really stepped into the role of a mother figure in my life. She took me in after I was taken away by Child Protective Services eventually, after bouncing around a couple of different houses. And so I am in contact with her, and we talk all the time. And like the other day, I had a big audition come up, and I was feeling so nervous and in a good way again, and I remember giving her a call and FaceTiming with her, and her just really hyping me up and inspiring me. So I have that mother-son connection in my life still. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's incredible to think what you've been through and how, it feels very redemptive that you were then able to be a part of this movie that will hopefully help people to see the other side of this and help people to have hope for people who are caught in trafficking. And just hearing your story is also, it's like real life hope as well.
Yeah, I think one of the great tragedies is that of my mother's life is that she didn't receive the empathy and compassion that in the film Violet receives. When people watch this film, I hope they walk away with that empathy and compassion in their hearts for people that they're interacting with in their everyday lives, whether that's someone in a victim of sex trafficking, or someone that is a person without a home on the street, asking them for $1 so that they can buy a burger, or whatever number of circumstances that they find their fellow humans in that are struggles. They'll be able to look inside themselves and maybe remember this film, even it's such an important story to me because of this, that they might be able to take that empathy and compassion and extend it forward.
Yeah, that's great. That's definitely my hope too.
Another thing that I would hope that people watching this film would desire after is that they want to see more neurodiverse characters on screen. I'm almost getting emotional saying it out loud, but I really, really remember the first read where Tom came up to me after and expressed how meaningful it was to him to know that this story was being created and that he could watch it one day. And his mother as well was expressed a very similar sentiment. So I would say that too.
This is not just a movie plot. This is actually happening right now. As we're sitting here having this conversation, this is happening. There's an Anton out there right now doing this to somebody. I can go to Aurora Avenue right now and probably pick out 10,000 Antons. This is real. And unless people start caring about other human beings, this is never going to change. It's not going. I don't care who's in office, who's running this or that. On the ground, we're all humans, and we need to learn to make that worth something. And the second we do that, then we can all combine and come together and knock this crap out. Because the fact that it's there is because it's being allowed to be there.
Right.
And I'm not talking about police reform and all that nonsense. I'm talking about us, right here. Us four are part of this thing. We can go out and talk to people and find out their situations and see how we can help. Not enable, but able people to do better with what their surroundings are. And I'm hoping that this film will shed some of that light. And at the same time, also shed light on autism. And the fact that people, when they hear that word, their brain automatically goes to, oh, totally this. It's 100% this. No, there are different levels and spectrums and layers in this thing. You know, it's like, you might be autistic and not even freaking know it.
Right.
I was reading about this. There's like what they call functioning autistic. These are just words that I read. I'm not making these up myself. But it's like, if this could just spark one person to go, and that one person can influence 10 more people. And out of those 10, they can influence 20 more. You know what I'm saying? It has to do that. And that's why when I watched it, I was like, I'm so glad I did this film. Even though I played a character that I totally would want to shoot in the face if I saw him in the street. I'm glad I was part of it because I'm hoping it comes to light and other people can see it and appreciate it for what I think it is and what I know you know what it is, Alan. It's a learning thing. We gotta learn. We gotta learn to love each other.
Yeah. I love that you're all talking about change to people's hearts, their minds, and then how that leads to action. I mean, on our website, thesoundofviolet.com, we have ways that you can connect with local organizations that either fight trafficking or bring awareness to autism. So hopefully you'll go and check that out, because we really want this to spark a movement that turns hearts and people against trafficking and doing everything we can to stop that. A movement that brings awareness to autism. Hopefully, after you've seen the film, you come away with it with some really warm memories, that you've laughed, that you've cried, that it's moved you. But I guess my hope, and perhaps all of our hopes, is that ultimately it will move you to action, that you'll join us in getting the word out so that the most people possible can see this film and help us all make a difference. So thanks to all our actors for being with me today for this Q&A. If you'd like to find out more about The Sound of Violet, go to thesoundofviolet.com. If you work in entertainment, be sure to check out the complimentary courses and other resources available at navigatinghollywood.org, where you can also find our other shows, transcripts, links, and more. Please visit us and leave us a review so others can discover this podcast. I look forward to being with you next time.